Hi, okay, so I've just turned on the light bulb and just closed the blinds because the sun is starting to set, and so you know, the light from the natural light from the sun is not lighting enough anymore, so I think this is, yeah, this is much better. Okay, so as I was saying prior to pausing the video, the Lord has given me comfort because I was like, you know, beginning to I was beginning to believe that, I mean, I believe, like, the Lord first, when I sought Him about marriage, it's like marriage is for life. And it was also my ex-husband's influence, I've got to admit, because he kept saying marriage is for life and that's it, you know, and I kept, you know, trying to, well, you know, maybe, it's like, no, that's it, you know, if you won't remarry me again, I'm never gonna get married again. He told me that. So I was like, you know, it influenced me for years, even like after our divorce, because, you know, because of finances, we still live under the same roof. We have each our own room, but you know, we still see each other, we say hi, we talk about, you know, whatever, shopping and things. So my goal is to just make my own money so that in the next 5 years I can move by myself. Okay, I need to do that, you know, but I talked to him many times and periodically still have to remind him that we are just friends and that's it. And I talked to him so much, you know, I want, everybody needs to be at peace, but I told him a marriage cannot work where one marriage partner no longer, with any part of their heart, they just don't desire the marriage because they found the truth. And yes, there's responsibility in life, but our heart should also be in it, right? God doesn't want us to serve Him if our heart isn't in it. Who wants such a believer? No. You know, yes, we have responsibility and we have commitments, but we're supposed to have our heart in it, okay? We're supposed to want to do it. So when you no longer want it because it just keeps you from God's path, and it's just not the path for you because it wasn't to begin with, then you have to let it go. You know, I'm not telling anybody to divorce, okay? I'm just explaining where I'm coming from, okay, with my situation. That's all I'm doing. It was a struggle for me, therefore, because I did not get married to divorce, but I did lie to myself. I like to call it, I committed love suicide. I was living in deception, and in that state, I got married, which is not a good state to get married in. First, come to the truth. Figure, you know, let God reveal things to you about Himself and yourself and how He created you, so that if you do get married 20 years later, you will be happy. Okay, because trust me, it's not going to do anybody any favors if you're not going to be happy. It's not going to bless you. It's not going to bless your spouse. It's not going to bless your family, your extended family. It's not going to bless people that watch you on the street. For years, I have had to endure people looking at us and always picking up that there's something not right with us being together. For years, I have had to endure other men looking at me and looking at my ex-husband and just picking up in their spirit that there's just something not right here. And deep down, it wasn't a blessing for them. Okay, my marriage didn't bring people joy. Just not even talking about anything, just looking at us as we were shopping and about. And I've had to live with that for all of those years, okay? And I just realized the impact that when you get married, it's not just about you. Okay, it's gonna determine whether you're gonna be happy and fulfilled in life, yes, and satisfied and all of that, and whether you're gonna, in the end, go towards the kingdom or further away from it. But it's also gonna impact other people. It's gonna be a testimony. So what kind of testimony are you gonna have with your marriage? You have to consider this before you get married, all of it. What testimony is it gonna be for other people? Is it going to, are they gonna go, oh my goodness, I want that? Or is it gonna go, there's something not right here? There's just, and in their heart of hearts, they're gonna feel like a hole, a sadness, just a gap, just empty space of this, there's something not right here. And I don't want to make people feel like that, okay? That's beside of me not being happy, you know, to have to just disappoint dozens, maybe hundreds or thousands of people that you're going to meet in the course of your life because you're not happy. So you can't transmit something, even if you're smiling on the outside, and I would be very friendly and they would just feel there's just something not right. Over and over and over again since the day I got married. That has been thrown in my face. God was showing me, look how it's affecting other people. I'm like, ugh. So I'm like, it's too much, you know. So he made me uncomfortable to the point where I made a decision and I said, I gotta do this. I gotta undo what I did, you know. So I divorced. It's never pretty, it's never easy. You feel like you're being cut open and your guts just, okay, you're undergoing operation, someone's cut you open and they're like, okay, now get up and walk. You get up and walk and your guts fall out. That's what a divorce will feel like. So you don't want to go through that, okay? You know, God heals, okay, so he recovers, but you're going to go through some things that, why? It's going to cost your health. It's going to cost your precious time that you can't get back. Oh, why would you put yourself in such a situation? Why would I? I don't know. I can't understand myself. Now I'm looking back. It's like I can't. And the only way I can explain it is I didn't have faith. I really didn't. Not nearly enough. I was filled with fear. And fear of not making it. Fear of not succeeding. Didn't know how to trust God. This is why I want people to come to the Lord, so they can learn how to trust him, so they won't live in fear. You know, so that they won't make a decision because they're fearful of being alone. Trust me, it's much better to be alone than to be in the wrong marriage. You know, and we all have our experiences, but that, when you're fearful like that and you're seeking comfort in a man or in a woman, in a marriage partner, rather than waiting on God and just enduring some loneliness and a little bit of fear and not knowing, uncertainty. If I would go back knowing what I know now, I would endure all of that as a single gladly. And now I'm just so happy. I'm like, I wouldn't trade this. I wouldn't trade it. I'm waiting on God from now on, you know, like that's it, you know. I'm sold. You sold me. I got it, okay. So, you know, and then, you know, so I was thinking, and it just somehow along the way, it became, I guess, a little bit of a burden, like, okay, I gotta be single the rest of my life. And I was fine with it, but I'm like, okay, you know, and it just became, I think, a little bit, God really had to call my attention to it. I didn't even really notice. I was just like, okay, I'll just, you know, I'll never remarry again because, you know, obviously I cannot. My thinking was until you know, my ex-husband would pass away, he would have to die first. Well, maybe I'll die first, you know. So so I just had this thinking where, you know, I was just like, okay, I can never get married again. And it became a little bit of a burden because, well, deep down I still have the desire to have a God-ordained marriage. Okay, so how do you solve this situation? Okay, Lord, so I'm divorced, my ex-husband's alive, I still live with him, you know, that's not the point, you know, it's just he's alive, and I still would love to experience your love with a man that I would actually love as a husband and, you know, be passionate about and all of that. I've always wanted it, and I've never had it, and I really messed up my life, and I still really want it deep down, you know, but, you know, so I guess it was so weird because it was just so interesting the way God worked, and I know it was the Lord. One of the channels I'm subscribed to, I'll just tell you, and I'm not saying that they have the truth, I'm saying the truth is in Jesus alone, is in God alone. Please don't follow people. Everything that you hear me say, just take it to the Lord if something's not clear. I am a person. I will not tell you I have the truth. I'm just sharing with you what I believe the Lord has shared with me, some deeper truth that I did not know before or didn't believe before. It wasn't clear about, okay? I'm more clear about it now. And so I was like, the one channel I'm subscribed to, it's called James and Leah D. Okay. It's interesting because she was married before. She has her testimony there. She talks about it in, I've seen her testimony video and another video in which she talks about it, but it's not titled her testimony video. It has another title. So at least 2 videos she has where she talks about her life prior to her life now with her husband, in which they're in ministry together. She was married before. She was New Age. And she was practicing the New Age meditation, spirituality practice. And through some deceit, all her friends, you know, from that practice, you know, they were encouraging her to marry someone that she really didn't have peace about marrying, but and her family warned against it. So anyway, she ended up going out of God's will and ended up living a very difficult situation, just hell on earth. And it's so interesting because I was just one day a few weeks ago, or maybe 1 or 2 months ago, not very long ago, a couple months maybe, I was just asking the Lord, you know, I wasn't thinking about marriage. I was like, just lead me to a video, you know, please just lead me to a video. Just, I want to be filled with you. I want to just receive your word. I want to have peace. And I was not at all expecting what the Lord led me to. And it's interesting that he led me to the video, not her testimony video, but the one that where she talks and mentions some things that she doesn't mention in her testimony video about her marriage, and then about her divorce, and then how God blessed her with her actual husband, which is her God-ordained husband, because the first one was not her God-ordained husband. And it is a blessing because, well, through discernment I can tell that marriage is bringing her closer to the Lord. And that first husband did not die. She's forgiven him and she's been totally separated, you know. They don't have any children together. And the Lord chose to bless her with her God-ordained husband. And it was so interesting because when I asked the Lord, just lead me to a video, I was not expecting a marriage video. I was like, actually, when I first started listening, I started to get hot inside and angry. I was like, I'm angry. Because it was like, I was believing that marriage is for life. And I'm like, well, why are you leading me to this video showing me that, you know, she's been, you know, married before and now she's, you know, married. And I was just ruffled inside. I was not at peace because my belief was, and it was so interesting the way God worked through that video that he took the burden away. So what I'm trying to say, and I really hope that you're praying for the Lord to give you the discernment, because you have to be in the Holy Spirit to understand my words. The Lord took away the burden that I had to be single for the rest of my life. Maybe and maybe not, like whatever God has for you, in His time, in His way. So surrender everything to the Lord is what He was trying to tell me. So I'm saying that I no longer like have to think, oh, I gotta be single now, and I never consider marriage. And on the flip side, the same token, just the opposite side, right, of the same token, on the flip side of it is, I'm not going to rush into getting married either. Just let the Lord guide me, and whatever He has for me, whether He's going to have a wonderful man as my husband years down the road, because I know it's not anytime soon. The Lord, I don't know, it's just, in my heart, I feel at least 10 years, you know, I'm not saying, I'm just saying that I don't even want to be married anytime soon because I'm just not there from more points of view. I'm not there spiritually yet, and financially I'm not there. I have to just grow and mature more, you know, but so I know I'm not there now and won't be for the next 5 to 10 years possibly. At least 5 years out of the question. So at least 5 years, but probably more. So through leading me through her video and her talking about that, because she said, I knew divorce wasn't pleasing to God, but it was like a pretty bad situation. It was like I didn't have that. She had pretty much a life-threatening situation. She had a very, very severe case, like 3 intense years. I had 6 years, but hers were very intense, of just downright abuse. And when the Lord led me to that video where she said, you know, check also my testimony video, and she was talking about her previous marriage, and now you can tell her husband is a godly man and a mature believer, and they're both passionate about the Lord, and there's just peace there. You can tell there's the peace of God, and the blessing is on that marriage. There's peace. They love each other with Christ's love. She's able to focus and make her videos, they're all about the Lord, and some are about marriage, God-ordained marriage. Like, God just gave me a peace and really even a hope to say that, you know, he might still, even if you've been married, okay, out of God's will, and you truly turn to God. Because what happened after she divorced, she wasn't looking to be married. She said, I'm just going to give my life to Christ. So she was just reading the Bible. She started praying. She just totally devoted. And then God chose to bless her with her husband. So I'm saying that if a person is totally devoted, God may it may stir God's heart, and God may choose to still fulfill the desires of that person's heart and bless them with a God-ordained spouse, with the right person for them, even if they were married before and their first spouse is still alive. So I'm just saying, don't make that an issue. Okay, you're supposed to have peace. Okay, so now I wouldn't have peace about being with anybody, no matter who they are, and no matter even if they're mature spiritually, because I'm not there. Because it's not. I know God revealed in my heart, because I search my own heart. It's not the time now. But by the same token, He took away that burden of I'll have to be single for the rest of my life. Maybe, and maybe God will choose to give me my husband in His time, so that it'll be according to His way and for His purposes and His glory. So I just wanted to share that with you, because God is so gracious and so merciful that even when we disobey Him with something as serious as marriage, like marrying out of His will, in the end, He may still show grace and mercy that we don't deserve, because we don't deserve it. We don't deserve it. First of all, we don't deserve heaven. We all deserve to go to hell. That is the greatest grace and mercy, because to be single in this life for the rest of your life and end up in heaven versus living how you want and end up in hell, you cannot compare the two. Obviously, I want heaven, right? So He's just taken this burden away and just comforted me and shown me that nothing is a burden. You know, but I have direction. I'm not just aimless and thinking, well, maybe I like this guy. Is this, you know, have this quiet assurance and this peace, because I know it is not time now at all. You know, and I'm probably closer to 10 years or more, you know, that I'm just going to take my time and see God, and for the first time in my life, walk with Him day by day without fear, and just letting Him guide me, show Him who I am, grow me up in Him, and just be His daughter. And if He has somebody for me, if I'll be walking with Him, whether 10 years or later, even 20 years down the road, then let it be God's blessing. I am no longer interested to get somebody for myself. I'll let it come from God, as the sunshine, as the rain, you know, let God pour it if He wants to. If He wants to. And if He doesn't, I'm just as happy. You know, so that is where I'm at now. And I wanted to share that to say that whatever mistake you make is not the end of the world, but don't get married if God doesn't lead you to do that, because you will pay. You will pay. Every person that is married and they were not happy, they have paid. Some people God didn't allow to marry again. Some people that were married and they committed adultery and all of that, and they even had children with, you know, while they were married to their spouse, or they divorced their spouse, they had children with someone else. God may not permit that person to be married again, because, you know, there's a lot of healing that needs to take place, and children, and it's just too complicated now, you know. But I'm saying that, you know, God wants us to be at peace with Him and with one another, and not hurt one another, because when we hurt one another, we hurt His heart. He loves all of us. So when we go out of His will and get married, you know, out of his will, we're bound, because the marriage covenant is for life. Like, that's God's heart. So it's not going to be easy to get out. First of all, it's not going to be easy to get out. And you're going to be miserable. There's a chance that, and then, because now the more you know, the more you're responsible for, right? If you don't know, if you're not that anchored in the Lord, like I had come to the Lord, but I didn't have depth in the Lord. I really, you know, I could say I'm ashamed, I'm embarrassed to admit it. I did not have depth in the Lord. I didn't wait to get depth. If I were to remarry now out of God's will, the consequences would be worse. Like this, if I were to have a second marriage right away in the next 5 years, I wouldn't last 6 years. I might not even last 1 year, right? Because now I know more, I'm responsible for more. I'm responsible to do it better now. Wait on the Lord. So I already know that if I'm going to get married again to someone that, you know, I might even find attractive, even may match on more points, I probably most likely would end up divorced in a shorter period of time than it took me to divorce the first time. So I already know that statistic. So that's why I'm saying I will wait on God, no matter what he has or doesn't have for me. Okay? Because even the statistics, if you saw the second marriages, for first marriages is like about 50% divorce rate in Canada and United States. For second marriages, the divorce rate goes up to 10 to 15%. So it's anywhere 60 to 65%. And for third marriages, goes even higher, 70 to 80%. So the more times you get married, the more likely you are to divorce. The more likely. So those are the chances. Why? Because it's not God ordained. And because your heart has already suffered and gone through that pain, the way that you have become, you've already come to a point where you already know what you're not willing to put up with. You already know what you cannot tolerate. You already know, like, you know, so you cannot any longer compromise the way you did the first time. Something's going to be like, no, I can't put up with that. So you're not going to spend time suffering the second time around. So you're just going to divorce just even sooner. It's like, I don't want to put up with all of that. Forget it, right? And then also there's that danger that you don't know, like, you know, who you're really marrying. If you didn't take time to, if it's not, because God, you can't rely on yourself to know a person. God knows them. So you got to allow the Lord to choose the person for you because he knows their heart. He knows if they're a good person. He knows if they love him. He knows if they care about God and therefore other people. He knows if they're a compassionate and patient person. He knows if they're going to seek God's will no matter what. So that way, that's a safe bet. But if it's not God ordained, you don't even know. You could be marrying a person that has, like, is demon possessed. You're going to have all those demons in your home, inside of you, bothering you. Like, you don't even know what you're setting yourself up for. So, you know, I mean, this is another topic with the demons and stuff, but just wait on God. So for me, I am not going to do anything anymore out of God's will. And you know what? There's this thing that where God says if we're obedient, he delights to bless us. So, you know, and I've heard cases, more than one, where people were married and it was not the right spouse for them. Some of them even for a long time, and had children, and then the other spouse left, or just the marriage just didn't, because it never worked. It was never ordained of God, so it could never truly work, right? And eventually it came apart because it was never meant to be. And then I heard that God provided an amazing person, but it was God. You see, you have to make sure that it's God. In most cases, it will not be God, right? In most cases, you're going to want the person. So you'll know when it's God. How do you know? When there will be a peace, when you can talk freely about anything, and they just love to listen to you, you love to listen to them, you can share your mind, you can share anything, and you get each other. You know, like, you think alike, like you feel like you have the same purpose. You know, that may be a clue that, you know, that may be your God-ordained spouse. Like, you're going to feel like you have the same purpose. You're heading in the same direction. You could see a future with this person. And most important, you will have peace. You will have peace. Okay? There won't be like any darkness, you won't be ashamed. You'll feel like this is a blessing and you're just going to want to shout, yes. You know, it's going to be like a blessing. It won't be like we're going to have to hide. We're embarrassed. If there's that embarrassment, if there's that any type of shame, is not right. There's just something seriously wrong. Either it's most likely not the right person, or it could be a person that God may have for you, but they and you still have to prove yourselves faithful. And if one person falls from the faith, then God may choose to not give that person anymore. That is another thing. Like, that was what happened when I was 19. When I had prayed for a husband just a few months after I had come to the Lord, I was nowhere near ready then. Obviously, I'm not even ready now. In my mid-30s, I was 19, so that was a decade and a half ago. And I had prayed to God to show me who my husband was. And I didn't know that He gave me 2 visions of a young man I met in college. And it was the same person in the months of our birthdays. I didn't know then when his birthday was. I found out later. So I knew that that was from God. But what I didn't know is that I was not ready for God's answer when I had prayed that prayer. So I was not ready to be married to him. Now I was...